in detail, you will see what can be there in an online test. So the first step that for sure you should be prepared about is being prepared for the online test from the beginning of the season, because this is the easiest way of not getting any opportunity by getting yourself rejected in the online test stage itself. It is the easiest way to do well. I mean, it is easy to qualify the online test, but it is easy to not qualify the online test as well. Simply don't prepare, don't have the speed, then you won't qualify in the online test. And that's you not giving yourself a chance, not reaching the technical interview stage. Even if you know everything about electronics, won't matter if you haven't prepared or done well in the online test. So that was the first part. Then there was a technical interview which happened. My profile was MST, as you know. MST is basically related to communication. So the department electronics and communication has two parts, electronics and communication. So my role was related to the second part, communication. So questions were asked again in the placement or internship manual. You will find the exact questions which were asked. I will not go into the details of it right now. But yeah, that is how my internship interview experience looked like. There was a OT, there was a technical interview, and there was a HR interview for formality. Not much to prepare, at least for Qualcomm in the HR interview stage. Coming to the most important thing in this session, coming to important topics, because I think right now you guys are preparing for the upcoming season, or 2 years down the line, or 1 year down the line, if you are going to sit for the placement or internship season. Important topics is something that you will have to know from the very beginning so that your foundations are strong. So for online test, as you know, as I already said, aptitude is important. So if you guys can want to note down, you can note down. There is a website called IndiaBix that has everything related to aptitude. So you must go through IndiaBix, regularly practice on IndiaBix, and it should be such that just before a company is coming, you are only revising the technical concepts that are important or relevant to the profile that you are applying for. You should not go for aptitude just before a company is coming, because then you are slightly late to the party. And that is not the right time to focus on the easier aspect, which is aptitude. So from now itself, you should have some touch on all types of aptitude questions which can be asked. IndiaBix.com, IndiaBix, BIX, simple website. It has everything. No need to go beyond that for anything and or anything whatsoever. Secondly, coming to interview. Now, for the interview, there are 2, 3 parts in the interview. First and most important is your CV. I hope all of you have made your CV. If not, you will make your CV. Understand that at least one third or sometimes half and minimum one fourth of your interview will go on what is written in your CV. So, firstly, make a good CV. Secondly, go through your good CV. Go through your good CV means uh, anything that is asked written in your CV, anything regarding that can be asked to you in whatever fashion. It can be twisted, it can be straight, it can be diverted, it can be anything. So you should know in detail whatever you are writing in the CV. Don't include anything which you cannot answer about. Remember, I'm not telling don't write false things. You can write false things if you are sure that you will be able to answer everything related to that false thing. So if you have not done something, not done a project, in the worst case, you can mention it if at all you are sure that anything asked regarding the project, how it was done, what was the need for it, what were the challenges, anything and everything you are able to answer. If that is so, you can include anything and everything in your CV, but obviously make it believable. Don't write I was working in ISRO, I was the one who sent the spaceship to Mars or whatever. So make it believable and also have thorough, I'm emphasizing this enough, have thorough knowledge on your CV. Uh, the CV is again the easiest portion to make the interviewer understand that you are just not serious for this only. Next, CV done. This after the CV comes the technical questions. You can have a great CV, great project, everything. The next way of not doing well is not knowing your subject. I think this is something that you will have to start working on from now itself. What are the important topics in your subject? Now, this session is about electronic sector. So I hope you guys know what are the important subjects. Firstly, you must have learned analog electronics. You guys are second year, right? Mostly second or third year. You have completed your second, third year, or some of you might be first year students. So anyways, first important subject in your interview for internships. I'm talking just about internships because that is what I was told. This is the target audience. So is analog electronics. Analog electronics is like the most basic electronic subject. If you ask what in analog electronics, then basic stuff, transistors, MOSFETs, op amps. These three are three basic components on which you can get easy to easy questions, which you will not be able to answer if you don't prepare from now itself. So you should have an idea of why someone moved from BJT to MOSFET. What is the importance of op amp? Why? How is it made? And all of those basic stuff is what will be asked in the internship interview. They will not expect you to know Verilog or you to know some memory concepts, DRAM, SRAM. Anything in detail is not expected in internship interview. FT is a different thing. In internship interview, if you know what are the basic workings of BJT, MOSFET, op amp, and you know how to design those circuits, then that is more than enough in analog electronics. So basic concepts which is taught in the subject, nothing beyond your subject is also required, is more than enough in analog electronics. Next important subject is digital electronics. Again, this is something which is taught to you in the second year, and internship interview happens only after the second year. So I'm expecting that Manish Okadeshwar or some professor has already taught you sequential circuits, combinational circuits. So once that is done, that is more than enough in your internship interviews in digital electronics. You know basic combinational and sequential circuits, and you know basic CMOS style design. If you know more than, it is more than enough. If not, then also, I mean, right now, though, I should say you should try to know because you still have time. But in the worst case, if you are watching this at the very beginning of the season, then it is still fine if you know the combinational and sequential circuits in detail, all the flip-flops and everything, the concepts are clear. It's fine. Digital electronics for internship, that much is fine. Apart from that, if you are sitting for, let's say, the MST profile, analog electronics done, digital electronics done. If you are sitting for a profile like MST, you should know signals and systems. That is again a subject taught in second year. Basic things, sampling theorem, Nyquist rate, and basic modulation. What is modulation? What are the different steps in converting analog to digital, etc. These are basic things in signals and systems, which is more than enough for you to convince the person who is interviewing you that communication, you know nothing at the time of the internship interview. There is no subject that you have learned which is able to tell the interviewer that you know communications. The only thing that you want him to be convinced about is that whatever subjects you know related to communication, you are clear about that. So whenever you are going to learn about communications, you will take it well and you will be able to learn well. That being the important topics for the internship interviews. If there is anyone here for FT interviews as well, the only things, again, everything goes into much greater detail in these three subjects. The things that get added are maybe embedded systems, and you need to know Verilog. I think Sankalp can talk in detail when he speaks about what are the additions that you get when you are preparing for FT. Basically, embedded systems you need to know. Again, that will be taught to you. The advantage of knowing Verilog is that very few people know Verilog by the time of your initial interviews because the subject is not taught. So if you have that added advantage, then you have that added advantage unique to you. Other people don't know Verilog coding. So that is something that is going to attract the interviewer's attention towards you, that you have some interest in electronics. That is one thing that if you are preparing for FT, not for internship, if you are preparing for FT, that is something that you can focus on. So this is the gist of the technical knowledge you need to have. For internships, it looks simple, at least to me right now. For you, it might look a lot right now because we are in the second year. But there are only three subjects: analog, digital, and signals and systems, which are important in the internship interview. For FT, there are some more. I already talked about aptitude. The other thing is puzzles. Some companies in the interview, they will also ask you puzzles. Puzzles in the sense they will give you in simple words like riddles, and you have to solve them. Riddles is not basic riddles that you get normally in your daily life. It is puzzles that you can practice on Geeks for Geeks. Again, the sole platform where if you do at least few puzzles before the season starts, there is nothing outside Geeks for Geeks that is going to come as a puzzle. So for puzzles, Geeks for Geeks is more than enough. Just go to Geeks for Geeks puzzles on Google, search this much, they will give you a website, and then start solving puzzles, 1 or 2 per day, or in a week also. If you solve 5 or 6, that is more than enough. You should have an idea of how to intuitively think. More likely than not, that if you have practiced puzzles from the very beginning, whatever question is asked, you have already solved it in the past. So it will be very easy for you. Otherwise, it might get very difficult because it can be very unique, and depends from the interviewer to interview. Now, one more thing regarding important topics is that it also differs from profile to profile. As I said, my experience was in MST. Someone else's experience will be in hardware. And now if you are talking about FT, then hardware will also differ a lot. Analog engineer can be a profile, digital engineer, SSD engineer, and there can be quality engineer. There are multiple profiles which can exist. So for each profile, the basic concepts that you need to know is already what I discussed, that you must know. But before a specific profile you are going for an interview, you will also have to see, is there anything specific that I need to know about in detail? For example, if you are interviewing for a company which is specifically working on memory systems or memory management or anything of that sort, you need to know things which are more relevant to memory and not necessarily signals and systems. If you are interviewing for Qualcomm, it is necessary for you to know about signals and systems. Similarly, having some idea about what is the core competency of the company, and apart from basic knowledge about everything, having extra knowledge at least 1 or 2 days before that interview, having at least trying to get some extra knowledge about that core competency uh, can get you some brownie points, which is very important. I hope you guys have decided your sector. At least if you are in FT, preparing for FT, you must know what sector you are going for. That is to say, either you are going for electronics or you are going for software, because if you are going for both, it might get slightly tricky and difficult. It is still possible. Some people have done that, but I would say it would be ideal if you know what you are wanting. At internship stage, I think it is still fine. A lot of people don't know what they want. So you can prepare both. If you are preparing for both, prepare DSA on Geeks for Geeks. As simple as that. Nothing more than that can be discussed here in the electronic sector discussion. If you are wanting to be open for both type of roles, just prepare your DSA concepts on Geeks for Geeks, apart from having basic knowledge of DBMS, OS, that also from Geeks for Geeks. That being said, the next thing they have written is experience as placement coordinator. Now, that was the important topics that I said. If you have any doubts about whether some topic is important or any doubt whatsoever, at the end we will discuss all the questions and answers. Next is experience as placement coordinator. Now, experience, I won't talk about irrelevant stuff. See, in the electronic sector, there are a lot of opportunities that will come. Texas Instruments, Micron, AMD, Qualcomm, the list never ends. There are a lot of companies which will come. If you have prepared well, you will get a good or great or dream company that you have. You will get your, because remember, when a company came, at least my experience last year, there were a lot of companies in the initial months itself which could have taken more. They wanted to take more. They did not get enough number of candidates. Example, analog devices. They did not get the right talent pool. Now, if you are prepared, then there is nothing like lack of opportunity or the company not hiring in great numbers. They want to hire in more numbers. There is absolutely no lack of opportunity. If you are prepared well, you will get your dream offer or a good offer or a good company. So as a PC, the insight that I have in the electronic sector is that there is nothing relevant for you that you can get from a PC. The only thing is you prepare well, the PC will do his her job, and the companies will come. The only thing that you need to know is that companies start coming from July end generally. So if companies start coming from July end, your major companies, major in the sense, now major is subjective, but major in the sense, all the dream companies in the electronic sector will come in July, August. And by mid-September, all of them would have already come. So this period, now the May has ended. This June and till July, these 2 months is the only period of time which you have for preparation. Once companies start coming, it will start specifically in FT season. It will start coming one by one, and you will have absolutely no time to prepare anything from basic at in the middle of the season. Every day there will be OT, there will be AGD, there will be something or the other, and you will not get time at that point. You have to prepare for a specific company at that time. So basics, foundations, everything you should know from now itself. Apart from that, I don't think there is anything relevant from the placement coordinator point of view. Next thing mentioned is how to back PPO. I mean, there is no secret mantra in PPO. There are a lot of factors. Every company, the factors are different. The methods are different, everything. The only thing that I can say is that no one has ever lost anything from having good relations with their manager and mentor. So if you are doing an internship right now, have good relations with your manager, mentor, and seniors, because they are the ones who are going to decide. So this is the safest advice that I can give you, apart from obviously work well. Uh, what else can I tell you? How to bag a PPO? I mean, it depends on those people also. So just all the best is what I can say. Next is how to deal with rejection. Okay, so uh, how to deal with rejection. Now, this is again something that I don't know what I can say in this. Um, Personally, I got this from the BPO itself, so I did not have to go through the FT season, which is very cruel. If you ask some of your seniors, it will be very cruel if in the first few companies you don't get selected. It will look very cruel because your friends are getting selected. It will look very bad, but know it from the first day itself that anything can go wrong. Interviews and this internships, FTs are dependent on luck as well. Who is interviewing you? What is their mood at that point? Is it a difficult panel? If someone gets an easy panel, etc., etc. So beyond a point, it's not in your hands. That is all I can say. The season is very long. There will be a lot of companies that will come. So if you are well prepared, you will get something that you deserve. So rejection is not something that you should be worried of. It will happen. It will happen to everyone except the people who get placed in the first company. So except five, six of you, everyone will have to deal with rejection. Be prepared for that from now itself. But yeah, what can we do? That being said, I think now Sankalp will take over. If you have any doubts, you can ask at the end of the session. You can keep it noted from now if you need. Yeah. Thank you, Short Circuit, for having me. And yeah, Sankalp, hello.
Yeah, that was great. Now we move to the next speaker of the evening, Sankalp Hota Bhaiya, the founder and the ex-president of our club. He got an internship at Cummins India and later got placed at Micron. He was also the recipient of one of the most prestigious OP GEMS scholarship. He was also an integral part of the placement committee of the session 2021-2022. Now I would like to request him to continue the session.
Hi everyone, I'm Sankalp as explained by Swayam and Short Circuit team. I was the founding member of this club as he mentioned, and Short Circuit in a part was helped me a lot. Not a lot, like since it's a new club, but I gained a lot of managerial and experience in electronics that helped me to back Micron. And thanks Ripati, you nearly mentioned all the relevant points for internships. So I will focus more on placements and hardware part. So moving on to the next slide. What we have here, Swayam or Manas, Cummins India internship experience. Since this talk is regarding electronics, so I will keep this short. If there are students from electrical background, you can raise your hand or write in chat. So, or otherwise we can skip it. Seems like few students are interested. Okay, fine. Like my journey was quite different from a lot of students in NIT Rourkela. I switched career path in my college in the last 4 years and a lot of time from software to machine learning. Then I prepared GATE, went to electrical core. When I back Cummins India, then I didn't like the sector. Then I changed to electronics, and I'm looking forward to continue in this line of job for a few years. Like Cummins India, it was the last company that came for internship in that year. So I faced with a lot of rejection during my internship period. Like literally nearly all the companies, I went to interview round of nearly all the companies, but I couldn't make it to the selection. And finally, I got internship at Cumin, which was the last company of internship drive. So it was very painful and it was a very difficult time for me during my pre-final year. That was the time when we found short circuit and we worked on few electronics project on VLSI. And since I was preparing for GATE, I was pretty interested on electronics part during my preparation. So from that time, I was interested to prepare for electronics, which I eventually prepared during my placement. So moving on to the interview experience of Cummins, they basically Cummins is the automobile sector industry. So the questions were based on electronics and core subject from electrical, which was power system, machines, and power electronics. From electronics, basic analog electronics, nothing else. And they asked few questions from embedded systems. If you so interested in electronics, when usually what happens in intensive is that they asked what are your favorite subjects. Since I was toward the end of the third year, I was preparing on electronics, so I said electronics. So they asked few questions on analog and embedded, but still they focused on their areas like power system, power system, power electronics, and machines. We're on interview experience. Okay, I am not explaining the proper process. Like yes, all the interviews or all the process in internship and placement, they have first OT and then interview. There can be one or two technical interviews. Then you can have HR interviews. I think all these have been explained by Tripathi, so I am not reiterating those. So moving on to Micron interview experience. Yeah, during my third year of experience, I worked on few Verilog projects with my friends in our short circuit club, like Mahesh, who is also placed in Micron, few other friends as well. We made a group. Like there were multiple groups in short circuit where we worked on few VLSI projects. As Aditya mentioned, that since very few people in the start of placements didn't know VLSI, especially from electrical, we do not have VLSI in our curriculum. So it was new, it was very interesting. We worked on it and it helped us during our placement season. I will explain it when we will go to important topics why Verilog is important. Then my preparation was for 2 to 3 months, and my Micron experience was a very it's a very interesting story. Like you can say being an intern at Cummins India helped me to back this opportunity at Micron, which let me explain. Like first, my interview when it was a quality engineer profile or NVM QRA, non-volatile memory quality and reliability. So basically, when they asked what was my favorite subject and where I wanted to work, means the interviewer asked me, I explained that I am more interested in semiconductor industry and work with that memory designs. So basically, they asked a lot of electronics-based electronics-based questions. Like they asked me to design the T flip-flop and D flip-flop using a Verilog, and they asked why NAND, which one of NAND or NOR is faster, and why, and few logical questions from analog, and they asked also various puzzles. There are basically, as Aditya mentioned, puzzles. There are two types of puzzles in basically electronics field. One is a very practical kind of puzzle which you'll get in gigs for gigs. Like there is a cake and you have three. You can make three cuts and how to get eight similar pieces of a cake using three cuts. This is one type of puzzle which you can practice in gigs for gigs. There's another type of puzzle which is design puzzle. Design puzzles is like same like CPP, but it's an electronics version. They will give you a problem statement. You have to think, and you will be given some electronic equipments like AND gate, NOR gate, or MUX, and you have to find a solution using those electronic circuits. And you can find them in internet, or if you don't, you can contact Tripathi or me. We already have a manual which we can forward. You can get all these links. So they asked me a few questions on these puzzles. And then in the mid of the interviewer says me that you're more like a semiconductor industry guy, and they need someone who is proficient in means like they wanted someone who is good in electronics, and he need to know some software. He need to have a software base. Apart from that, some experience in management. So, like the interviewer offered me a choice, like yeah, if I want, we can stop the interview and apply from different profile. So, but that time I explained that he asked if I had some experience. He also gave me some software questions, which since Tripathi explained why you need to practice at least basic DSA, they asked me a basic DSA question itself. And since from the beginning of my college days, I was pretty interested with software line. I had some basics, so it helped me go through the that part of that phase of the interview. And then I explained them, since I was also a part of the quality and reliability team in Cummins, and how that means that team, I worked in that team, and my experience at Cummins and how I was dealing with various problems. So I think that affected with the results of the interview. I got selected since I had some experience with the quality team. So, like, as a placement coordinator, what I have heard is that a lot of students are leaving internships because those internships are not in line of their career path where they want to go, or it's like they are not taking into internship and thinking they will prepare for 3 months, do well in OT and GDs or PIs, and they will get selected. That is a pretty wrong notion. That's not the entire truth. You need to, usually companies see for a lot of experiences in you, in corporate experiences or practical field experiences, or where you got a chance to prove yourself. Like you are an intern at any on-campus internship, means you have already proved yourself in a few OTs or PIs, and also you have a pretty good project if you are doing an internship, irrespective of the sector you are working on. Since I had a project from electrical background and it helped me in electronics background, it is necessary to have a experience. It shows you have done something in college. You are not just a mugger, and you are just reading and all. You don't have any personality or experience. So the intensive experience and projects are quite handy. You need to have some good projects and intensive experience. It's really good if they are in line of your desired sector. But if you're unable to find anything, then it is better to have an internship to justify that you have done something, you know something, you have dealt with the corporate life, and you have some experience. And this is all about micro interview experience. We can move on to next. Experience as a placement coordinator. Uh, as a placement coordinator, it is like, yeah, we, like me, Tripathi, we all saw a lot of companies come for electronics. Means the CTCs were as high as 65 and as low as 10 to 11 LPA. There were a lot of opportunities, but a lot of students were not able to capture this opportunity because they were not prepared. The main problem that lies with the student is that they are biased. Like, they prepare for only one profile. Most of the electrical guys prepare for the design profile, which is the hardware part, and a lot of electronics guys, they prepare for farmer profile. For electronics guys, it is okay. Like, they already have the basics in Verilog, it is there in a curriculum, and doing software helps them. But for electrical student, they are pretty much biased during the design profile, and they do not take into account the coding part or the Verilog part. And if they are unable to I think Texas had a design profile, design verification profile, and analog engineer profile. Apart from that, all the profiles were very much versatile. They were asking question on embedded system, they were asking question on data structure, they were asking question from computer architecture, from analog, digital, signal systems, Verilog, and also if you mention any favorite subject of yours. So, like, they were not that versatile. The preparation was not versatile. Few students missed the software part, so they couldn't clear few rounds. At least in the Micron, analog devices, Qualcomm, AMD, you need to clear the software or the problem statement in data structures in the OT itself. And few companies like Microsoft Hardware, which came to a college few days ago, it had in OT, it had two software questions, but in the entire interview, they asked question from embedded systems. So if you are not proficient in data structure, it will not, it is like you will not be versatile enough to get placement in multiple companies. Yes, it is true. A lot of companies come, 15 companies will come, but you should be prepared to at least be eligible to crack these 15 companies. If you're pretty specific to a particular profile, then for you, there are only one and two companies. And if you're unlucky, you might not be able to get a placement in electronic sector. You need to keep your placement a bit versatile, and if possible, complete the data structure part in a proper way in any language, C, C++, Python, most preferably C++. But if you are like proficient in Python, you can go for Python itself. So that we saw as a placement coordinator. And apart from that, I already explained the internship part. You should have experience. If you're the only thing you should have a experience. If you're not getting any internship in your career path, then only go for what I said. But if you have internship, there is no more opportunity. You should not leave your internships. Or you, it's not like you should like prepare, and in the end of the day, you are not able to crack a interview because you lack experience, lack projects. That shouldn't be the case. You should have something to show up in your CV. How to deal with rejection. Yeah, like yes, I was rejected in around 15 companies in my third year, like nearly all the companies, because I got internship in the last company. It is very tough. Like, but you should know that you are not alone. Like in internship phase, I think around 300 students uh, got internship, and I was not one of them. Like there were a lot of friends of mine who were also not like getting internship, and we were like, yes, we segregated from that part of society which got internship. It was a terrifying experience because we were really worried what will happen in our final year if we're not getting placed. But that fueled us to prepare more, to practice more, to work in our projects. And at the end of the day, it's like we prepared the entire year, and we, in the end of the day, me and few of my friends, at the end of the year, we got off campus or on campus internship. And this preparation, like that fear that we might not a good play, we might not get a proper placement final year, since we were not able to crack anything in third year, it helped us in final year. So it's okay, it's a part. If you're getting rejected, just take it as a part of life experience, but don't take it a easy way. Like if you're giving an interview and you're not able to answer a lot few questions what interviewer asks, prepare those. Take a note what are the areas which you are missing in your preparation, what you couldn't answer. Prepare those areas properly. If you need help, you can contact your seniors or friends who got placed, or any alumni or professors if you have any problem in any subjects. To make a note where you're lagging from each interview experience or OT experience, and work on it. And I can assure you, you will definitely get placed in your dream company or favorite few of your favorites company, at least if you are following it. Learn from your mistakes. It is the best way to overcome it. Yes, guys, next slide. Yeah, wait. Swam, can you go back to the 2 slides back? I couldn't discuss the topics. I think it was part. Okay. Okay, like in my micro interview experience, the topics like Tripathi mentioned about internship. So, like for my profile, which is a quality engineer profile, but is quite tentative towards a hardware profile. Like questions in interview and OT were based on analog electronics, digital electronics, embedded system. Embedded system is basic 8085 and 8051. You need not go through ARM architecture, but you like I gave Microsoft hardware interview as well. They asked question on RISC, CISC, and also from ARM I2C protocols. It is good if you go to advances, but before that, complete all these basics, embedded system part. If you are a third year guy or a final year guy, first complete these basics. Then you can go for RISC, CISC, and ARM or different protocols for serial communication, I2C, UART. You can go through it, and then. Next will be Verilog. It is the if you know Verilog, you should be thorough with it, because once you mention that you know Verilog, they will ask you to screen share and write the code in front, or what we say pure coding round. They will give you a problem statement. You have to design it in front of them, and it should be proper, and you should get the output. Like writing your code without getting any output is not going to help you. So you should be thorough with it. Either mention if you know it properly, then only mention. Otherwise, don't mention it. It will become the sole reason why you are getting rejected. Practice it thoroughly, and then mention it, and it will enhance your chances exponentially for selection. With not much people know Verilog that proficient in that proficient manner. Then you should practice question from network theory, like the filters, RC circuits, RL circuits, the analog profiles, and also few electronics firmware profile. They ask questions on RC filters and different types of filters, low pass filter, high pass filter. These topics you must go through. And in digital and from signal system, there are some digital filters as well, like FIR, IIR. You should go through it, right? And you should know at least what are those things, how do they work, right? And as Tripathi mentioned, in electronics, you should be thorough till sequential. But here in this case, you have to complete the entire digital design, including ADC, DAC, logic circuits, CMOS. CMOS inverter design is the most important part. Like they might ask you to design a NAND gate, NOR gate using CMOS, like in front of them, or explain them how it is made, and how why we choose CMOS against NMOS, PMOS. These basic questions you must understand. And from complete the entire digital part, you can practice it from like take any gate paper and practice those theoretical questions. Then computer architecture comes in next important topic. You don't have to prepare the entire computer architecture. From that, you have to learn about FIFO and pipelining, and the third one is flash memory or the memory system, SRAM, DRAM, flash memory. These three topics you have to go through. Like for my company Micron, it's a memory semiconductor memory company. So this they ask me question on SRAM, DRAM, flash memory, cache. So it's like you have to, since you are preparing for all the 15 companies that are coming to your college, you should go through this. And also even Microsoft Hardware also asked me questions on this memory and pipelining. So these topics are important from computer architecture. Okay, and I hope you guys are taking a note of this. And if you are not, you can contact us again. I think the record means this interview experience is recorded. You can play it again if you need it. Then apart from that, then is a static time analysis, setup and hold concept. That is a very important concept if you're going for any core, means proper hardware profile for Texas or Qualcomm hardware profile. Then you should know about setup and hold. This is an important concept. Go through it, right? And the next important thing is what you mention in your CV. Like if you are mentioning your strengths are digital, FPGA, or any language or any subjects, or whatever you have written in your CV, you should go through your CV first before your interview, and make sure you have something on those, whatever you have mentioned CV, be it project, you need to have a write-up prepared on your project. Like if they ask you any cross question, you must be prepared for that. Or any subject, if you're mentioning any subject, you should be prepared on the subject. If you're not, don't mention those subjects. It will only harm you in your interview. And this is it. Moving on to that, if CG is important, Swayam, can you please move on to that slide? Yeah, Tripathi, would you like to throw some light on this? CG really matters.
Firstly, the results are already out. So if you are sitting for this year's internship, you cannot change your CG. So whether it matters or not doesn't matter to you right now. Just prepare. But in general, CG does matter to some extent. You need to have some basic CG, 7.5 plus or 8.5 plus to be eligible for a company. 8.5 is like the absolute limit. Sometimes analog devices has that limit. Otherwise, normally it is 7.5 or 8. That is the basic CG you should have. After that, your performance can bag you any offer. But this is a very, critical question, because right now you cannot change anything that you have. So whatever, even if you have 5.7 right now, don't worry about it. There will be some company or the other which will make you eligible, and you will have your opportunity. So right now, what is in your hand is preparation. So prepare. Uh, don't think about all these external factors which you cannot change right now. If you have few semesters in your hand, my advice would be improve your CG. Whatever is your CG, just improve it. As simple as that. Because there is no harm in having a higher CG. Uh, yeah, that's it. Sankalp Suvata.
Same, like I would like to the same thing, but I would like to add something like if you're preparing for internship, you still have 2 more semesters to improve your CG. Try to take it above 8.5, because few companies like Analog Devices, and also there is like as a placement coordinator, I have seen sometimes when they do resume shortlisting, like those students going to a final year must be aware. Like few companies before OT, they do resume shortlisting. Sometimes they take into account your CGPAs and how whatever you are mentioning in the CV. So CGPA and CV go hand in hand. They are important. Like if you have a better CG, then you have an advantage. But those who don't have better CG, like above 8.5. Like above 8.5, everything is same. Like you don't have to have a proper 9.9 to get into any company. Above 8.5, it's okay. It's a very good CG for getting into for the resume shortlisting part. So if you are in third year, you are going to third year, then try to improve it. And if you're in final year, just your CG doesn't matter now. Just focus on your preparation. You can't do anything about your CGPA, and whatever opportunity you will get, try to get maximum out of it. If it is a rejection, then try to learn from it, and if you're selected, it's okay, you will have a party. And great. Next.
Impact of CV. I think we have already discussed this. CV will be important, A, in the resume shortlist, because some people will be rejected in the resume shortlist, and B, in the interview. So in the interview, at least in most cases, at least 1/4 of your interview will be based on what's mentioned in the CV, or at least it will give the direction of your interview. So CV is important. Make a good CV, as I said, make it believable and impactful. So it should have something of substance, but it should not have actual substance. I mean, it should not be unbelievable. So yeah, that is what I had to say, Sankalp.
Yeah, I've already mentioned all the points regarding CV, like be it any topics, be it any project, be it any experience. Like if you know something, then only mention it. If you don't know it, don't mention it. It will be a thorn in your process of getting placed. Like yeah, usually they are maximum number of time when I got rejected, it came from the parts which I was not prepared to the full extent. So I will request all the students, like only mention those which you are prepared. If you're not prepared, just remove that section. If you're like you are submitting the CV, but you know few things they ask in the interview, you can answer them. But you have mentioned it, and if you have mentioned it, they will not ask any easy questions or general question. They will think that you are aware it's your strength because you mentioned in the CV. So think, and if you are mentioning any experience, at least before interview, go through whatever you work you have done in those internship or projects so that you can explain. The questions regarding projects are like, what are the difficulties you faced and why you made this project? What was the requirement? And after the project was made, what was its use? And can you market the product you were working on if you are working on any product or any project which can be sent over market? Usually, software engineers get this type of questions for their project. So be thorough with everything you mention in CV. If you're not, then simply remove it. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Aditya Bhaiya and Sankalp Bhaiya, for enlightening us. We will now go ahead and take some questions. Just a reminder for all the participants, make sure you type your questions in the chat box or just raise your hand. We will give you the access to the mic and Bhaiya will answer. Yes, Raj, I have given you the mic access. You can ask.
Hello everyone, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Hello everyone, I am Raj Radhishwar from second year BTech EC student. Bhaiya, I have a doubt in that does means learning assembly language would be preferable by the companies or not for internships?
Assembly language in the sense, what will you learn?
Like about 8086 microprocessors.
You can learn. There is no harm in learning anything, but unfortunately, they won't ask, or they won't expect, at least in the internship stage. Knowing 8051 or 8081 or any such thing is something extra. You can put it in your CV and make them ask that specific thing. But in general, they don't expect that. and that will most likely not be a factor in your internship interview. You can rather focus on having some idea on DSA, because that will be there in the OT, and they will ask 1 or 2 questions in the interview as well, apart from basic electronics that we already discussed. 8051, 8081, important in full-time hiring.
Bhaiya, tell us something about projects. Means which field projects means doing at which field will help us.
Like these are different for different companies. Like you cannot make projects for all the companies, right? You should work on a project in which you have interest on, so that you will do a proper project, you will get a proper outcome, you can invest a lot of time, and when companies come, you can explain it to them. They don't expect from you that you do a project in their line of work. And also it is not possible. Like all the companies, they have multiple profiles, they are although from the same sector, but the work they do, they're pretty different. And for the since there are multiple divisions in the company, different division come for our hiring, so you cannot prepare a particular set of projects for all the companies. Work on anything that you have interest on. But if you want a strong electronics profile, then work on VLSI, work on Verilog. This will these are projects on these fields are really good. You can work on them.
For example, in my internship,
Yeah, actually, you are not.
I had this project related to deep learning. Now that is not relevant to the profile I applied for, but it was still important in the interview. So it doesn't matter which project you are doing. What matters is, do you know about the project you are doing, and can you passionately explain that project to the interviewer? And there is a question in the chat ki, how do you, I mean, what are the resources where we can make project? Just Google simple VLSI projects that I can do, or Google simple embedded system project 8051, simple program writing. You start with that, and then move on to simple projects. Simple projects in the sense, if you are doing, if you are preparing for software, then your simple project will look like building simple railway reservation system, or some basic software which you are building, or some basic code that you are writing. Similarly, here also you will do basic filter design, or you will do some basic project which is already existing. You will not invent something in your project. It is something which gives you hands-on experience on what you have learned in the theory courses. That is sufficient. So just Google some relevant project, and then you will get it for any topic that you want. Or a question, how to tackle questions like strength and weaknesses, and where do you see yourself in next some years? Okay,
HR.
first, strength is the thing that you are strong at. Okay, going away from the definition of the word, strength, you can mention something that you are absolutely confident at. There should be no doubt in the interviewer that this is your strength. If you say that my strength is multitasking, or my strength in terms of subjects is microprocessor, my strength is completely this, then anything that is asked in that section, you should know completely. Strength can be two ways. It can be this best subject that you know. It can also be strength in general in life that he is asking. So for both, you should have an answer ready. And for both, you should have a story behind it ready as well. Why do you think this is your strength? And for weakness, make sure your weakness is not relevant to the job profile. If you're applying for analog engineer, you cannot say my weakness is analog electronics, because then you are defeating your own purpose. Mention something, I suffer something in managing time when I do multitasking, or something like that, which is a problem, small problem, and also tell them you are working on it, and you are consciously working on it. It should not be completely relevant to the job profile that you're applying to. Don't shoot on your own foot. Lastly, where do you see yourself in next some years? Again, I mean, what can I answer to this? Just Google. There are multiple standard answers existing. It would be ideal if you can give an honest answer. If you have an honest answer, if you don't have an honest answer, just Google what are standard replies to this. Or if Sankalp, you have anything?
Yeah, like usually these questions come in managerial round or HR round, like strength. Like you should, before HR round, you should go through the Wikipedia page of that company. Usually a lot of companies, they have their motto or something like that, like Bajaj has a lot of them, world's favorite Indian. They have some mottos like what means like leadership, teamwork, like these stuffs usually the companies have. You can find it in their web page or Wikipedia. Just go through it. I try to align your strengths based on that. Don't copy, don't say the same things. Similar things that align with it, and you can explain it as Tripathi said as strength. You must give some examples and weakness. Like I would like to add what Tripathi said. Like Tripathi said from the subject point of view, but if it is a HR question, try to say your strength, modified in such a way that you can see it as a weakness. Just think about it. Like you can say if someone is asking what is your weakness, you can say if you are into something you like to take up the you like to take those things and get things done. It wastes your time, so it's a strength, like you get things done and you properly invest your time, but you waste time. You can, like, things should be irrelevant, but it should show your strength. Don't tell in weakness is that like I waste a lot of time and all. Don't say those things. It will simply harm your process. You have to show your strength in a hidden way when they ask you about your weakness. And where do you see yourself in next some years? Like I will recommend you to say whatever you have thought, but prevent yourself from saying that you're interested in higher studies or anything. The like there's a rule that you should prefer the answer to these questions that should be aligned to the company and the line of work you're doing. If your answer, the original answer, is aligned to it, then you say that. Otherwise, think about it and answer it. But shouldn't deviate from the company in which you are applying. You shouldn't say want to go for higher studies. Then you are going to suffer a direct rejection. Next question is like opportunities. I think Devans Tripathi already mentioned a lot of companies, around 10 to 12 companies that visit for electronics, and specifically for embedded system, there is an embedded software engineer or firmware engineer profile in analog devices, and Micron has eSSD and SSD profile for embedded and IoT. Specifically, there are no profiles for IoT embedded system I'm talking about, and even Microsoft hardware. The hardware profile is based on firmware engineering, which is embedded system. Other companies also have, but these are the big three.
There is a question: does Intel come for internship in our college? I guess Ashutosh Praj 121 means first year, right? So Intel does come, but for MTech 1 year internship. As you are a BTech student, right now Intel doesn't come for summer internship, but have faith on your PCs. Hopefully, it will come next year or next to next year. Let's see. But there are enough opportunities, so don't this is one thing very important. Don't focus on only one company, that unless that company comes, I won't sit for any company. That is the last thing that you should do, because there is no surety that even if a company comes for the last 10 years, it might not come this year. So those things are dynamic, so don't focus on only one company. Okay, anything else or to question you?
It looks like we have covered all of our. Anything else you wanted to cover up before the wrap up? Yeah.
You in the sense us? I have
Yes.
nothing.
I think there is a question. I think someone posted a question. Like, yeah, if I come electronics, would I focus on software? Not sure. It is based on your interest itself. You're interested for software, you prepare for software. Where you see yourself in 5 years, that answer to that question, like the honest way, and get the answer to that question for yourself. Prepare in that sector. You shouldn't ask this to us. You should ask this to yourself.
I guess Sumit is in first year, so it's fine. You will, with time, you will develop your interest. You will know what you want.
Explore. I would, if you're a first year, I would suggest explore all the fields like software, electronics, and if you find you align with something for the next 5 to 6 years, you're interested, go with it. You have ample amount of time to decide on this.
So, chalo, Swayam, I guess it's done.
I think it's done. Yeah. Okay, no, I don't think so. Is it easier to get internship in digital or analog?
This is a weird question.
See, like I wouldn't say easy because entire placement season or internship is not easy. Like apart from Aditya, who got internship from Qualcomm and didn't sit in placement, a lot of students went through a lot of rejections, and including me, I went through entire internship period. So nothing is easy. And for digital or analog, the only difference is there are very less number of profile for analog, where the less number of companies visit for analog, and a more number of companies in electronics based companies visit for digital. So, okay, the chance if you prepare for a digital profile, the chances of you getting placed in your dream company is more. But it
Yes.
is not easy. You have to
For
prepare.
ex- for example, I think Texas came for both the profiles, and you can ask your previous year senior or anything. In analog, there was only one, and in digital, there were a lot more selected for internship. So uh, maybe the preparation was different. You might be different. You can crack analog, but in general, I think digital was either people were more prepared for digital, or they found it slightly easier. Again, it's not easy, but maybe according to last year's Texas statistics, digital was cracked by more people than analog. So you can have that, but that is not a standard thing which will happen every year.
Yeah, because it also depends on number of vacancies the company has.
Hmm.
So I guess you have answered all the queries. Now we should wind up. Uh,
Uh, Okay, we can do one thing if you guys have a lot of like issues or doubts regarding this placement, you can post them in a WhatsApp group. We will clear them in the WhatsApp group. Thank you guys. I would like to thank the Short Circuit team as well to give us a platform.
And yeah, thank you, Short Circuit. And Smarak, just quickly answering your question, unless you fail, it's all fine. In your final year, just don't fail. Your CG was calculated at the beginning of fourth year. So according to that only you will get your placement. So fourth year CG, it is just for you getting placed, you passing the subjects. So okay, thank you everyone for attending, and thank
thank
you
you.
Short Circuit Club for having me.
Thank you everyone. Thank you Short Circuit for giving us a
Thank you,
platform.
Aditya Bhaiya. Thank you, Sankalp Bhaiya. It was really a wonderful session. Uh, we'll be having our induction soon. Stay tuned on the Short Circuit Instagram page and do follow and like the post. Thank you, everyone. You can leave.